As a sleep consultant, here's the number one biggest misconception with sleep training. I see this time and time again. If you want to get your baby sleeping quick, you need to understand this one misconception. Biggest misconception, that if you let your baby cry at all, it's simply a cry it out method. Sleep training does not equal cry it out. Of course, we want to teach our baby to sleep with the least amount of tears possible. But in order to determine if this is simply a cry it out method, we need to backtrack. How did we get here? First, baby isn't falling asleep on their own, right? That makes sense. They need you to fall asleep. Normally, you put them to sleep through rocking or feeding. It's not that they're doing something wrong, but would you agree that they haven't quite learned how to fall asleep on their own? And if it's been like 6+ months, then there's a habit there. Not only have they not learned how to fall asleep on their own, but they think they need you to get to sleep. Okay, that all makes sense. Now, would you also agree that babies don't really have a way of reasoning with us? They cry, it's what they do. They have no way of saying like, hey, how come we're doing it this way now? So think about it. If there's a big association there, they think they need one thing to go to sleep, but you want to teach them to fall asleep on their own, and there's no way of reasoning with us, then realistically speaking, how, honestly, would it be possible to teach them to sleep on their own without like a little bit of tears shed? It's impossible. Of course, we want to sleep train them with the least amount of tears possible. But if you think that they're going to do it without any tears, that's not realistic. Now, every method is different. I don't believe in some extinction method or just laying them in their crib to figure it out. I personally think that what you do before you put them in the crib awake is like way more important. For example, do they have the same exact wake window throughout the day? What you're doing is creating a sleep pressure pattern, so they internally realize, okay, when I feel like this, when my sleep pressure gets to this level, I tend to go in my crib and I go to sleep on my own. See how that would be a little bit easier to understand? Then sometimes it's this long, sometimes it's this long. Same with waking up at the same exact time daily. If they're used to waking up at the exact same time every single day, then it's the same thing with wake windows, but in reverse. They're like, oh, if my sleep pressure doesn't decrease to this level, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I just go back to sleep. Same thing with choosing times of day. You're not going to randomly choose a time of day to put them in their crib and hope they fall asleep on their own. Not every time of day is created equal. Bedtime, sleep pressure is the highest, so that's your best chance of getting them to fall asleep on their own. That's when you need to give them the opportunity for the first time. After they fall asleep on their own for the first time, it is so much easier after that. You're 90% of the way there. These are just a few examples. You have to set them up for success. That way when you put them in the crib awake, they understand it's time to go to sleep and want to go to sleep on their own. If you think there's going to be 0 tears shed, that's not realistic. But my method does get them to sleep quickly within a couple days with the least amount of tears possible. Why? It's not because you're torturing them. It's because they understand what's going on by a few key things that we do for your specific baby. I'm never somebody who's going to lie to you and say that it's not going to be like one hard night. But I would say if you knew your baby's going to be happier on the other end and be better for it, can you do something uncomfortable for one night? Because it's so much easier after that. My method will get your kid to sleep quickly with the least amount of tears possible. Click the link below or go to actuallysleeping.com/free training.